Welcome to Sports Talk with Steve Jones, the daily talk show with the voice of Penn State football and men's basketball. You never know what special guest may stop on by any given day. Now here's the man of the hour, Mr. Steve Jones.
Great to have you with us. Obviously, I have to give you credit. You were limping as you were coming into the studio today. And I finally figured out why. You obviously sprained an ankle jumping on the Penn State wrestling bandwagon.
Oh, that's right.
Did you buy that sweatshirt?
I did. It's got a little older, but yeah, I did.
Did you buy it during the Cal Sanderson era?
I think so. Yeah, I think I only bought it.
You think so?
I think I only bought it like 2012. Yeah, so I think I believe.
You think?
Now, I do have, in my defense, I do have wrestling items from the Sunderland era, absolutely.
Well, most of those were five-finger discount. I know how you operate. It's like Jerry all the time with his knockoffs from a foreign country. That is west of Japan.
Slightly not. One of the great things, I will never forget about Penn State wrestling. They came to Martz Hall, my hometown of Pottsville, 1994. Takedown Drugs Invitational. They beat Wisconsin when Kerry McCoy was wrestling, and from that moment, I was a Penn State wrestling fan. There's no question.
And they appreciate your support.
They do. They don't necessarily need it, but I'm sure they do.
Okay.
Yeah, no,
I'm sure they wake up every day like, hey, that's great.
The word dynasty is used way too much in pro sports. Way too much. That's a dynasty you have.
Okay, historic.
Yes.
Dynasty.
Yes.
Like I have never
greatness, legacy, any of that.
I have never been around an era in my life where people were more desperate to tell us that we saw something historic.
Yeah.
Right? Over here in the back, I've been watching sports since I was a little kid, which is like a minimum of 60 years.
Yeah.
Guess what? I'm a pretty good judge of what's historic. I don't really need your help. I don't need your help.
There's moments you're talking about for 35 years. It's usually not what they deem historic. T.J. Warren scoring 55 points. I don't think anybody quite remembers that.
Yeah.
Now, Michael Jordan comes back, scores 55 on the Knicks in his third game back. Yeah, that's something that's pretty memorable.
Well, you know who was there that night?
Penn State basketball team.
Yeah.
They had at the Garden.
We were in the NIT.
Yeah.
In the NIT, 1995, and part of the deal was the middle night, because you always had an off night. So I'm going to say it was a Wednesday?
It was a Tuesday or Wednesday because it was in TNT. They usually did Tuesday, Wednesday night basketball.
So
it may
have been the NIT semifinals were on Monday. Penn State won. Or no, I'm sorry, Penn State did not win. Penn State was going to play for third place, so when they still had the third place game. And guess who they played in the third place game? They played Canisius, head coach John Beeline. Penn State won the game by a point, 66-65, 65-64, something like that. But that middle night, you would go to a Knicks game. Well, it turned out the Knicks were playing the Bulls, and it's the night that Jordan had the 55. On his comeback, wearing number 45.
Number 45, yeah. Did not score the game winner. Had Bill Wennington wide open on the game winner for the dunk. I remember that.
Yep. It's always love when I hear stuff like that.
Oh, same here. It's annoying, honestly.
Okay, I always love when I hear somebody say, well, Paxson scored the game winner. Steve Kerr took the shot in the game. Right? Wennington on the dunk. Right? Okay. Over here in the back, do you know the game at all?
Good Lord. Oh, man.
Do you know the game? Do you know how to play the game? The guy that made the pass for the dunk knows how to play the game.
Yeah.
The guy that made the pass out to Paxson for the wide open shot knows the game.
Yeah. Yeah, I give credit to 2 on that one. Pippen got the step inside, brought the defense in, then Jordan to Grant to Paxson. Yep.
Right. Kerr's open.
Yeah.
He passed him the ball.
Yeah.
The difference is he knows how to play. You have no clue.
You go back to the game where Paxson won the championship. Who scored all the points in the fourth quarter leading up to that moment for the Bulls?
Right. The reason, first of all, Paxson gets credit for making the shot.
Which was a clutch shot. Absolutely. Not a shadow of a doubt.
All the credit in the world.
Yeah.
But the guy that passed him the ball felt he had the best shot at it.
Yeah.
Let's see. There are moments where, in sports, where you need to be selfish.
Sure.
Okay? There are also moments where you need to be unselfish.
Yeah.
Whenever I've heard, well, he passed up that shot, are you some sort of, what's wrong with you? I talk all the time about the ability of the great athlete who knows how to play.
Absolutely.
They're a slice of gold, right? So people will compare LeBron and Michael Jordan. Well, LeBron knows how to play. LeBron plays a beautiful game. Okay?
Different style, too, than Jordan. I never liked the comparison. They're different players.
The comparison thing, I could care less.
No, I couldn't either. Right. You're going to compare them. Magic Johnson's a better comparison. I think they were,
but they all know how to play.
Absolutely.
Magic Johnson knows how to play.
Certainly.
But there are athletes that don't know how to play.
No.
That had great careers, but you watch them like they really don't know how to play. Larry Bird knew how to play. Magic knew how to play. LeBron knows how to play. Michael knows how to play.
Absolutely.
I mean, they were great athletes that also knew how to play the game. And got it. Scottie Pippen knew how to play.
Could lock it down defensively.
Dennis Johnson knew how to play.
Absolutely.
Right? There's a lot of guys in this era that don't know how to play.
No.
Right? They can do something that's spectacular and fun, but when it comes down to winning time, right? I mean, where you sit back and go, okay, not so sure.
Yeah.
And I mean, I can give you a list of guys that I look at in today's game, and I'll say, geez, I don't know if they really know how to play. And they're considered to be great players in today's game because they've got great stats.
Yeah.
And they're on the highlight package all the time. That's why I was talking about Saquon Barkley the other day. We all know that Saquon ended up with the largest contract in the history of NFL running backs. I mean, it is a deal. It's $40.1 or $2 million for 2 years. $36 million is guaranteed. Incentives get him up over $50 million if he fulfills them. And the bottom line is that is a great athlete who has this.
Absolutely.
He's got this, but he also has this. He knows how to play, and I'll give you a great example of it. The game-winning touchdown pass at Iowa on a night where Saquon had over 300 yards all-purpose. It was one of the truly phenomenal performances that you will ever see by anybody. Yet Penn State is down in the game and has to put together a last drive to get there. There's that big fourth down pass from Trace to Saeed Blacknall. I mean, they finally get down, and it's one play. And I think the way I set it up was pretty simple. I said, it's win it or lose it right here. Well, Trace goes back to pass, and Josie Jewell, who is was really a terrific college linebacker at Iowa, and now is in the pros with the Denver Broncos, where he's a starter player, good NFL
Had
player.
An interception in the game.
Right? Blitzes. And who stoned him in the hole on the blitz? Saquon Barkley. Why? Because Barkley saw it and fundamentally knew what to do and how to block it, because he knows how to play. Okay? McSorley hits Juwan Johnson for the touchdown. Penn State wins it. But there was a running back without the ball being one of the key guys that allowed the winning play to happen. That's because your running back, who's a great athlete and was having a career night, knew how to play the game without the ball when they needed it for a winning score. That's what I'm talking about, guys who know how to play. And you can see that. When you have a great athlete who knows how to play, we talked about the basketball, since it happens in football all the time.
Sure.
Like Jerry Rice knew how to play. Great player. Was he the fastest guy out there?
No, but he looked like it.
Right.
Because he knew how to play.
Right?
Yeah.
He got steps on guys because he ran great routes. Yep. Right? He found holes. Made a big difference in how they play. No offense, I don't think Terrell Owens a great athlete, didn't really know how to play.
Great athlete, ran after the catch as good as anybody, but he had his flaws. There's no question about that.
And
ran after the catch as good as anybody, not named the previous guy. Just said Jerry Rice. I never saw anybody
but again, that's the issue. The reason he didn't have the kind of success that Rice did, even though he may have had more talent, is Rice knew how to play. Yeah. And Terrell Owens really was not a guy that I thought had a great handle how to play that game. You can't make the game about you; it's about us, and that's the beauty of a guy like Saquon Barkley. I mean, it's great, and I'm thrilled for him. He got that contract.
Yeah, thrilled for him. He got the ring first, and absolutely.
The ring above all, because the game is the game. You're going to make money.
Sure.
If you're really good, you're going to make money. Now, can you max out the money? Okay, that's a different story. Can you max it out? But to me, it's all about the winning part of it.
Yeah.
That's why I don't know what you've. Have you seen what is struggling right now and may shut down? ESPN Bet.
Oh, really?
ESPN.
Okay.
Do you follow this at all?
I do follow. I did see they pulled the plug and around the horn. That is going to be exiting May 23rd, I think. I do follow it, but did not see that part.
You don't follow it, do you? Oh.
I don't bet, so why would I?
It's a news story. It's interesting because I think ESPN thought, and I can understand why. I mean, let's talk about brand name. I think they thought this would be a big winner for them.
Right.
But it hasn't been. And that's the part that's been, I think, has taken them aback a bit.
Yeah.
That, like,
I think part of it is the name itself tries to get too involved with things they don't know enough about. I think that Nike is guilty of that too. Yeah, we're gonna make Nike batting gloves, which are okay. But when you think baseball, you're thinking Rawlings, you're thinking Franklin. Or you get involved in something like golf. You're not necessarily.
Yeah, but
you don't have enough knowledge of it that the main brand that has been there for years does. And I think that's, obviously ESPN Bet was good, but the main gambling sites, that's what they do. Like, that's not something they do on the side thinking casually, okay, we're going to do this. Same with, baseball. Rawlings, that's what they do. They make gloves. And obviously they're involved in football and basketball too, but they're primarily involved with gloves, baseballs. That's, when you get into that game and say, okay, we're going to do it too, you got hefty competition that you probably can't compete with.
Yeah, I mean, it's what's interesting about this is that evidently, based on what they're seeing, brand names in, quote, the betting world aren't doing well with their betting services, right? I mean, now you usually go to Bobby on the corner.
Or the interest rate is just through the roof if you lose. My goodness.
It sounds like you have experience.
Your student loans have lower interest than him.
Oh, boy.
Students listening, be prepared. Be prepared.
Oh, goodness gracious. Just going by the boards. So I'm talking to my class this morning. So you try to get a read from young people about sports today because they're going to have a different perspective than I will. And so it gives me a really much better handle on what they're thinking and what they think is very important. Very important. So I was asked today about the Major League Baseball contract with ESPN. I said, look, ESPN can't cut off its nose to spite its face. I said, because guess what ESPN won't be doing in the summertime once they drop the contract? They're going to do very few baseball highlights.
Right. Guaranteed.
So they have a bad reputation of if your contract isn't with us, you are on virtual ignore. I said, I would talk to them about some sort of package where you keep Sunday Night Baseball, and hey, we'll toss you a bone. Is there another night you want? We'll just toss in as part of the deal, right? That'd be good for you, good for us, right? To stay alive in this whole thing. I said the beneficiary of them dropping baseball after this year, so it'll be 26. I said probably is the WNBA.
Yeah.
Right?
That's exactly what I was thinking.
And so I asked the class, I said, so let me ask you something. I said, how many of you watched the WNBA? You know how many hands went up?
Probably not many.
How about none?
Yeah.
Not one. These are people 18 to 22. And I said, and I thought maybe a third of the class would put their hands up minimum.
I think at least a couple. Yeah.
All right. But I thought maybe a third.
Yeah.
And I looked around and went, whoa.
Yeah.
That's not good.
That's why the NBA contract is as critical as it is. You're reaching that audience that's being struggled to be reached.
Well, I talked about that today, too. I mean, let's give credit where credit's due. They said, we want triple our money. I'm like, you're not going to get triple your money. You're going to be 2 to 2.5. You'll be doing great.
Yeah.
2.8 billion up to maybe, I don't know, 6 billion per year.
Yeah.
Right? So that's, it's not quite 2.5, but I thought like 6 to 6.5 billion. I got to give them credit. They did triple it.
Yeah.
They got NBC's money, they got ESPN's money, and they got Amazon Prime.
Yeah.
They did great. All right. I said, give credit where credit's due. I said, that's very rare when I hear somebody get the money that they're supposed to. Now, the Big Ten did. The Big Ten actually got the money they were hoping to get. Now, did they have to split it up a few ways? Sure. They used the NFL model to do it with Fox, CBS, NBC, using Fox Sports 1 and using BTN as a supplement, right? But, this is going to be it's going to be interesting to see what they do with it because they could be the beneficiary of it, but that's if people want to watch it. Now, the college basketball ratings for women's basketball and ESPN, which, of course, dramatically shot up in Caitlin Clark's senior year. Okay, credit where credit's due. Shot up dramatically its senior year. Without her this year, has actually gone up 3%. And that is to the credit of the sport. I think ESPN does a good job of covering it. They've also made sure they had the biggest games on. UConn plays South Carolina, something like that. In fact, UConn's been good this year. I think does help with Paige Beckers. But their basketball audience is up 3% over last year. Now, that's good. They've had 15 women's college basketball games this season with more than 500,000 viewers, which is 2 more than last year. That's great. Okay? They only have a few games remaining on their women's college basketball schedule. Right? But that's great. And that's, and they're trying to set up their own tournament, which, they have the exclusivity to. There's no doubt that the women's Final Four numbers will be lower this year than last year. Now, they may be only slightly lower, but they're going to be lower.
Sure.
Because, look, the casual fan makes the difference in a ratings number. You're also going to have this factor in there that you didn't have last year, and that is this, because the women's number, incredibly impressive, was higher than the men's number, right? Except this year, the men's Final Four is on CBS. It is not on TNT. And that does make a difference.
Big time.
What were the two lowest viewed college football playoff games? The two on TNT.
Sure.
Okay. Now, they were also opposite the NFL.
Right.
But they were. After that, it was all ESPN. Right? It wasn't TNT. Right? When Penn State made its run 2 years ago, Indiana, Purdue, Texas A&M, Texas, Penn State drew nearly between 15 and 16 million viewers for the 4 games total, including 6.6 million for Texas. What was the least viewed game of the 4? It was the game on TNT.
Yep.
With Texas A&M. You actually had a higher number for the Big Ten semifinal game with Indiana. You had a higher number with the Big Ten championship game against Purdue. Then Texas A&M, boom, and then they went back and were on CBS again with Texas A&M. So my point is, last year's Final Four was on TNT. It automatically was going to be lower than what they did the year before because it was CBS, because it alternates years under this contract. Well, this year it's CBS. That is going to be a big difference in terms of the rating for the men's game. That is not in any way to take away from what was a phenomenal viewership and rating for the women's basketball championship game on ABC. Phenomenal. Right? They rightfully can absolutely brag to everybody about that. I'm just saying there is a difference this year by putting it on CBS. Why? Ask yourself why, for example, ESPN more and more is migrating toward putting Monday Night Football games on ABC as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay? There's still, in this world, okay, the major networks still play a role. That's why I think the television deal that the Big Ten has with Fox, NBC, CBS,
Yep.
Those are smart and important deals.
Yeah.
And when you watch a game on CBS, it's also on Paramount Plus. Great supplement. When you watch a game on NBC, it's also on Peacock. Great supplement. Now, you also have Peacock-only games, and Penn State's basketball game with Wisconsin on Saturday will be a Peacock-only game. All right. That's the streaming service for NBC. I just want to make sure.
That is.
You're probably too cheap to get it.
No, that one I have.
Oh, you do?
I do have Peacock.
You do?
Yep.
That's great.
Yep.
Do you know how to...
Yep. Yeah, I've operated that one.
Don't look at me because I don't. I can get Amazon Prime on.
Yeah, that's the only one I have, though. I don't have... Well, you know what? No, I have...
You don't have Amazon Prime?
I do have... the only one I've used heavily, I do use Amazon for Thursday night. I do have 3, but 2 of them are because I have Amazon Prime because I have Amazon. And Paramount Plus comes with Walmart.
Oh, does it really?
Yeah, it does. You have a Walmart Plus membership that comes with that. You get Paramount.
Okay.
The only one I pay for that I have is Peacock. I get that for the Big Ten, obviously.
Because usually you steal cable.
I'd be the one that I would be the one. There are so many times when I watch a 49ers game somewhere, why don't you just watch it illegally? No, because I'd be the one that would get caught.
Well, let me ask you something, though. I mean, you're a big 49ers fan.
Yeah.
And they have NFL Sunday Ticket. Have you ever had NFL Sunday Ticket so you just watch the 49ers?
I have had Sunday Ticket, but I don't have it anymore. Yeah, I don't do the streaming.
Is it just a cost-effective thing?
Part of it's the cost, yeah. The other part of it is the streaming part of it. It's difficult. You have issues with streaming.
Well, the first year that Amazon Prime carried the games, I would get the dreaded circle.
Yeah, that's what you get a lot of times.
And I'd sit there and go, oh, this is not.
Yeah, I had that. I want to say the 49ers were the first one on Amazon. I want to say it was the 49ers and Cardinals, and I had the same issues. Yeah,
but all season long, it was like that for me. Yeah. Starting the second season, you want to know how many times since the first season I've had a problem with the circle? Not one time.
Nice.
I give them a lot of credit.
Yeah.
I give them a lot of credit. Whatever they did to straighten it out, they straightened it out, and they deserve a lot of credit for it. Because there usually is not a college game on Thursday night anymore. It used to be.
Used to be on ESPN,
Well, it was always what was fun was I would go in and I'd do the talk show with Joe on Thursday night. And and Joe would say, "Hey, Steve, what's the Thursday night game tonight?" I said, "It's Virginia Tech, NC State." He goes, "Oh, okay." Right? Then we talk about during the commercial break, we talk about the game, and he'd tell me what he thought was going to happen. And 9 times out of 10,
that would happen.
That's exactly what happened. I said, so I would say to Wayne Sebastianelli, he says, it's like talking to the fox. It's like,
he'd always say he didn't watch. I watched baseball ever since I ushered for the Dodgers, and he'd get the exact playoff game right.
Oh, of course he would. Oh, no.
All the time.
Oh, I remember the two of us were like, they used to do that thing on Friday nights on the road with Joe and the media.
Yeah. And do it here for a while too, but then stopped
at the knitting line in. And I, for whatever reason, something had come up, and normally we'd do the pregame show. Actually, with Joe, we actually would do the pregame show like Catch as Catch Can, kind of on Fridays. And for whatever reason, we had to do it on the road, and so. I think it was Bud Tallman that set it up. And he said, "Hey," he says, "use my room before everybody." So it was just the two of us in there, and UConn was playing against Wake Forest, right? It was just we were done. The two of us just kind of sat there and watched the game for half an hour, and we were making comments back and forth. It's just two guys watching football. It was actually a lot of fun. I mean, one of the two of us knew what he was talking about. and you could pretty much assume who the guy was who didn't. Oh, God. It's one of the great things in life, the people I've had a chance to listen to over the years. I mean, actually listen.
And he was the same way with the Tuesday press conference if people paid attention to him. I think that there's no question what he added to everything. And James does the same thing. James Franklin does the same thing. But I think, to me, everything he added Tuesday, even prior to the press conference, then getting into the press conference, you were ready. You were pretty much, if you were doing game day features, you were all but ready by Wednesday to do whatever you needed to do. Obviously, you had the coach show Thursday that helped, and you added to it. But everything that he gave you, you were all but ready.
Well,
by Wednesday.
The coach's show is always interesting.
I liked the phone when he took.
Well, it was all. We always had the phone calls, right? And it's no offense, but for me, it was easy.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, if every once in a while, like there'd be something he'd have to take care of, so I'd have to fill a little bit. That would be sometimes I'd fill 5-10 minutes or something before he got there. That's fine. But once he got there, one call after another, all I had to do was say Judy and Muncie, Henry and Steelton, Jerry and Philadelphia, and what would be great was, "Oh, you're the greatest, you're this, you're that." And of course, all they're doing is eating up time on the show.
That's the best part. Yeah, absolutely.
I'd sit there, I'd be sitting there going, "No need for anybody to talk here." So one time somebody called the show. "I got a problem." And Joe says, "Oh, okay. What problem is it?" He says, they don't have enough porta-johns in lot 16. Right? And now, the great part was this was in the era where there are no cameras.
Nice.
Because, when we do the show at the field, we're on camera. When Jack Bryan and I do the show with Roger and the pregame show, we're all on camera. Right? See, you can't do one of these. Right? You can't do this anymore. Like, what the heck? You can't do that. You have to do a lot of this. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, and Joe is sitting at the head of the table. I'm sitting on the left-hand side. Guido would be sitting across on the other side, and Roger would be at the other end of the table. Right? And Jeff Tarman would be with Roger. And like he looks over at me and goes, like, I have no idea how to answer this. And I looked at him and I went, all right. And the guy's still talking. I said, and I think I said something where I said, I think it was the guy's name was Mike. I said, Mike, this is something I'm sure, Joe, there's somebody that we can pass this along to where they can take care of it. He says, absolutely, Steve. We'll go and we'll I'll make sure
pass it down the chain of command.
I'll pass this on to Bud Tallman. He'll know exactly who to give this to. We'll do the best we can. He says, obviously, I think I remember he specifically said, for Steve and I, this isn't our area of expertise.
No. And that was...
But this was live on the air. Yeah. I'm sitting there like going, you got to be kidding me.
That happened especially when they first built Midler Field, too. Because everybody used to throw a fit about the parking. I remember them almost every week calling, saying, Joe, what are we going to do about this parking?
Well, but see, all right. Joe was not against the baseball ballpark.
No.
Everybody thinks he was.
No,
he was not.
Wasn't.
He was not. He thought the ballpark was going to be built further down.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
That parking area, remember at first when they built the club seats?
Yeah.
Which there are 4,000 of them at Penn State in the south end zone. Yeah. Florida, they were really one of the first ones I can remember had club seats. They had 2,000. So Penn State had 4,000. And look, they're trying to fight to sell packages for it and so forth. Well, finally they came up with the idea of like, let's give them preferred parking to go with the club seat. Right? Nah, I can't remember how much you had to pay for it, extra, but it was how about it was reasonable. It made it an attractive thing to buy. Well, they built the ballpark on top of the preferred parking for club seats. That's what he was upset about. Because they'd fought this fight to get it. They finally had it solved. Right, that was the issue. It wasn't the ballpark.
No, it wasn't the actual park yet.
No. Right? Yeah. And people would call the show, my parking. And Joe's like,
literally all the time. That was for weeks.
Right. Now today, because we're on camera all the time.
Yeah.
No, not for basketball. Dick and I, they had talked about Dick and I doing the Facebook Live thing, but but it doesn't happen. But for football, I'm sure I've told this story before. We're doing a game, and Penn State made a mistake. And we go to a commercial break, and Jack didn't pound his fist on the table. He just said, oh, man. Right? Like that. Nothing like, no. It was like, ah. And he looked at me, and he gets a text from his buddy, Bob Brumbaugh. And Brummy says, because it was a road game, he says, well, he obviously didn't like that play. He looks at Jack looks at his phone. He says, hey, Steve. He says, how does Brummy know I didn't like that play? He said, did I sound? I said, no. I said, I don't understand. It took like a minute to kind of process. Yeah. Right? And I looked over. I go, oh. He goes, what? I go, I referred to it as that thing. Yeah. He goes, I said, that thing. He goes, oh.
Yeah.
I said, Jack, everybody can see everything that we do.
Yeah.
right, all the time. So, like, you can't really react.
Right.
Now, in the Big Ten tournament, when Penn State played in the Big Ten tournament championship game, Big Ten Network put a camera right in front of me because they wanted reaction during the game. And I think they used a couple of them in the championship game recap on the journey. But this is one that's there the entire time. When we first started it, they didn't have a cutaway. So we started going in the hallway to talk to each other about, hey, what about this? What about that? Pro, con, whatever it may be. Because we didn't want to do it on camera. Because you don't know if the mics are up. I mean, I don't care if you get the headset off. It's sitting over here. Like, who knows what they're picking up, not picking up. And finally, we got to convince them that during commercial breaks, air the commercial break and take a shot of the parking lot. Which is what they do today. Because, like, you have to have the ability to have some privacy up there for at least 2 minutes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? Because I'll get comments about, so what are you guys drinking up there? What's the... It's like, I appreciate your interest, but I'm sure I'll let you know what it is. It's called... Jack will bring up this pamplemousse, but the thing that people, they love, the grapes. Jack always brings a bag of grapes. Now Joanne goes out and they get the grapes. She washes the grapes, the whole thing, right? And the running joke that we have is, I don't know if it's a running joke or not, but it's a running joke that she says she'll take the stems out of the grapes. Because she says, I don't want, Steve to choke on a stem, right? And Jack says, well, what about me? I said, Al said to him, I said, no, she's got it right. But I get, what's the deal with the grapes? Now, we're not up there snacking on Cracker Jacks. We're not up there snacking on... No, but I'm serious. It's a fun running thing. It has nothing to do with it. It's a fun running thing, right? It's actually healthy.
Yeah, which is good. Yep.
And I'll tell people, I said, it's not crushed grapes in a glass.
I almost thought you were going with that.
No.
I'm thinking, man, wow.
It's not crushed grapes in a glass. But we'll get that about the camera thing.
Literally, yeah.
So, because you'll be up there in the old days, and you get a question, and when we didn't have the cameras, and we'd all look at each other like, okay, which one of us is going to take that one? Like. Now you can't do that. It's like somebody go, you don't really look at each other like, well, you kind of will look at each other like, okay, who's got that one? All right. Like, okay, I'll take that one. I can give as bad an answer as anybody, so what the heck, I'll do it. Or when we're at home. Okay, now last year we did all the shows in the booth. So when we were out at home, out in front of everybody, there's that, the curtain that's down in front of the table. All right? It was something, I'd be, like, guess it's me. It's like, I'll take that one, sure. Oh, God, I'll never forget, we were out in front of the Jordan Center. And this guy asked a question about draftable quarterbacks in the Big Ten. And he says, to me, the two best quarterbacks, the highest draftable quarterbacks in the Big Ten are Braxton Miller and J.T. Barrett. We're like, that one. And Jack says, well, I respectfully disagree with that. Yeah. And here's the reasons why, and blah, 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 blah. And then the listener wanted, he was standing right there.
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't back off his point, which is he's entitled to. That's fine. Right? And so I jumped in. I said, look, let me put it to you this way so you understand. I said, that league's different compared to now. It's a little closer to be. There's far more similar today. So I'm going back like 10 years here. I mean, even more than that. What am I going back? 12 years?
Mm-hmm. At least.
Right?
Yeah.
At that point, you didn't have quite the migration of the college game influencing the pro game like it does today.
Like it does now. Yeah.
Back then, it was still we're looking for that 6'3" to 6'5" guy. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I said, look, my gut feeling is I will be shocked if either one of them ever takes a snap in an NFL game, period. I said, unless it's a trick play using Braxton Miller, because he was the one at that point who was playing a different position.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Right? And it was like, but you're like, it'd be one of those that if you weren't in front of everybody, you'd be like,
huh?
Really? All right. Yeah, and you do like you'd be like this, like, really? And they're like, all right, okay, well, let's answer it. Right? But when they're standing there, you're like going, yeah. It's an interesting point you have. You're thinking to yourself, how do I answer this? Right? Because you want to be nice about it. You don't want to sit there and go, "Are you kidding me?"
Yeah.
You can't do that, right? Because the guy had, he has an opinion. Yeah. He's entitled to his opinion. Sure. The whole thing. Sure. So you want to make sure that when it's like that, But when you're on camera the entire time,
you can't make
while doing a radio show, you can't sit there and go, oh my God. Right. He's like, or one of these like, are you kidding? Now, how many of those fall into that category during the course of the season? Less than 5%. Yeah. Okay, the vast majority of questions you get are questions you expect to get. There's that 10% you get, you go, ooh, man, that is a really good question. Like, all right, I got to think about this. Like 10%, you'll get those. The other ones are like vast majority are ones you expect. That's fine. People are looking for information, things like that. The ones you can't answer the recruiting questions. We get fewer of those now because I think we have done a good job of establishing that it's an NCAA violation if we talk about it. And I think the fans have done a great job of understanding, hey, look, don't put them in a bad spot. That's not...
Exactly. And whether people agree or disagree, I think James Franklin, the way he handles injuries, sets it perfectly for the fans, too. I think.
Well, you know what? That's changed, though, because of the Big Ten's... stance on 2 hours before the game, releasing them. Well, we're on the air 90 minutes before the game.
You're able to
so
tell them.
We have the list, and the list is published, and usually we have Brian do that. Right? It's a good spot for Brian to jump in. He's got the list, the whole thing, and we do that. So we do have that. We just don't tell them what the injury
what
is.
The extent is. Exactly. That's where I'm going with it there.
Yeah, you sit there and go, I'll tell you right now, Bobby's got a knee. He's out for weeks. No, you can't. You can't, no. But you can tell them, hey, look, questionable, out, whatever. And Brian gives the list, and we've got that. And we've got that for both teams. Right? Yep. The interesting part was the SMU game. Penn State, 2 hours before the game, put out the list. SMU didn't. So James was like, hey, whoa, wait a minute here. How come we put out a list and they didn't? Evidently in the college football playoff, because it's a non-conference game?
Yeah.
Didn't have to. So you notice in the Fiesta Bowl and the Orange Bowl, there was no list. There was no list. Now, Penn State had guys available. Now, people wanted to know, obviously, the Orange Bowl whether Abdul Carter was going to play. But that one we were able to tell everybody because he was out there warming up that, hey, look, he's going to play. He was out there warming up in front of everybody. why bother warming up if you're not going to play?
Right.
Okay. Now I'm talking about in full pads with the first group and the whole deal, but it's an interesting. When you do this job, you follow the lead of the people who run the program. If they tell you the guy, I'm talking about publicly put out that the guy is out for the year, you are then allowed to say the guy is out for the year.
Sure.
If they don't want it out there that the guy is out for the year, at that stage point, it is not your job to tell everybody the guy's out for the year, even though you know it. It's not your job to do that. Okay? Okay. It's James Franklin's program. It's Mike Rhodes' program. Okay? And you have to follow. It's very important to follow their lead and not go off the ranch. Well, let me tell you what so I tell everybody, I said, I could get out there and tell a lot of things I know. I said, I also would not be doing next week's game.
I was going to say, you wouldn't be doing the job. Exactly.
I would not be doing next week's game. Okay, great. Hey, Mike, I mentioned all the injuries in the pregame show. You mean I'm not doing next week's game? Okay. I don't understand.
No, you didn't necessarily want the status of Ace Baldwin being told to Oregon, but I let him know he was out. Yeah. It's like,
it's one of those when they're out there and you can see he's in street clothes. Like you tell everybody,
clear as day then.
Right, you tell everybody he's in street clothes. He's not going to play. Yeah. I mean, he's not going to go and pull a Clark Kent, come out and go, "Hey, I'm in a uniform. Here we go." I died out of the phone booth and onto the court. It's Ace Baldwin. He's playing today against Oregon. No. Now, did I know he wasn't going to play 2 days earlier? Yeah. I was at practice, right? So I knew how they were going to play, and then Nick Kern was going to be the guy that essentially would take on that role. So it makes it easier for me to explain who's doing what when they start the game. Right? So they start the game. I said, hey, look, Nick Kern's the guy that's going to be the point guard. Well, at that point, I'm telling fans something they don't know, right? Because we already told them Ace isn't out there. But you do have to follow the lead, and it's part of the job, okay? They're inviting you into the program.
And trusting you.
And trusting you, right? I mean, I went to basketball practice yesterday. Joe Crispin and I had a long talk about a few things, moving forward, and so forth, right? And we talked about a couple things, and he's like, we didn't get this or that or whatever in terms of how this season has played out. And we talked for maybe half hour, 45 minutes, but that's between the two of us, okay? Right? I was at the football workout yesterday morning. Right? So I talked yesterday on the show about who the winners were based on what the coaches said. But I called Jack and we went, observations. I said yesterday, I went to the winter workout. I said, Jack's probably the best one I ever had. I said, that was incredible. I said, you should have seen me push that sled. But that's part of being invited in to do it. I mean, it's that deep background that makes a big difference, that gives you a perspective that really helps. I think the media does a great job of getting in on Wednesday, and in the limited time that they do have, they do a great job of, coming up with stuff that they can observe. And so that helps with their deep background as to what they're seeing out there. And they're allowed to report what they see. Right? Oh, look, X is at the starting quarterback, the whole thing. But when you're around it all the time, it gives you the deep background as to why not, right? But it's also up to you to treat it like Las Vegas. What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, right? I mean, that's, and if a fan, if I put myself into the shoes of the fan, I'd want me to give them more. Okay? I got that. Mm-hmm. If the fan were to put themselves into my shoes, they'd understand why there are limits. Yep. So I completely understand where they're coming from. And I think over time people have understood where I'm coming from. Now that little thing about you limping because you jumped on the wrestling bandwagon, sprained an ankle.
Yeah.
Right? That was accurate.
Well.
There's a little inside baseball there.
Absolutely.
And do you know what a singlet is? No.
That's right.
It's just, I worry about you. What is they're at Northwestern this weekend, right? That's the Big Ten championships. Because next year it's here. Mm-hmm. Next year it's here. Mm-hmm. And I think they're going to be when they had the NCAAs here. Remember, it was back when Cale won his first one. It was 1999.
It was like 99. Yep.
And Cale, as a freshman, won his first NCAA title in the Jordan Center. And because of the way the setup was, they could get like 13,600, 13,800, because it was all sold out. Okay. But because of the way the setup was and the media tables and everything, my understanding is when they do the Big Tens next year, they're going to be able to open up like a lot of seating for it. There's going to be more than 13,000, whatever. They're going to
That'll be good.
I think that's going to be great.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's good that they have it, too. Obviously, had it in 2021. You were limited in a lot of ways to what you were able to do.
That was kind of a bummer.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's no question that it's going to be heavily anticipated and going to be something I think you look forward to as a fan without question.
Well, look, if you can't go I don't know where the NCAAs are next year. Do you know?
I had the full list, and I cannot remember. They're set for the next couple of years.
Oh, no, they get these things done ahead because this year is Philadelphia.
Next year's Philly, yep. Mm-hmm.
Right. But if you can't make it to the NCAAs,
they're in Cleveland. I thought they were in Cleveland.
Cleveland? Okay.
So they are Cleveland.
You can make it. Okay. Yep. But I'm saying if you it doesn't work out time frame or whatever, or maybe even getting tickets because that's always sold out, you're getting almost the same experience here without Oklahoma State being here. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
The Big Ten has got all the top wrestlers, and that's going to be here next year.
Yeah.
But they've got Northwestern this weekend, and that's where it's going to be. I assume that they're going to do. I keep thinking about the setup in there. Mm-hmm. Now the championship's easy. Yeah. Championship's easy. You just put the mat out. And that's a great arena. You're going to be right on top.
You're going to be on top of it. Yeah.
It seats a little bit more than 7,000. Oh, your ride's here. That waste management truck, may have to give him a little bit of help. But we began the show talking about dynasties. All right. And there's certain things that are done, like North Carolina women's soccer won 4 in a row, and that's dynastic, right? But there's nothing like this since what Iowa did in the same sport.
Yeah, UCLA in basketball.
Celtics
in basketball,
right?
Yeah,
I mean those are the Montreal Canadiens.
Yeah,
okay, in the NHL, but it's an overused.
Big time.
Word. There is very little in the history of sport that compares to what Penn State has been doing in wrestling. You can talk about the Yankees in the 20s and 30s, okay, and maybe even into the 50s, what they did. Right, you can talk about that. The Montreal Canadiens, with all the Stanley Cups they won up to 1993. what the Celtics did, winning 11 titles in a 13-year span, okay, including 8 in a row. I mean, in a professional sport, they won 8 in a row. Yep. UCLA winning 10 out of 12. Right? I'll never forget that game in the Astrodome in '68. Kareem's hurt. He was known as Lou Alcindor then. He's hurt his eye, scratched his cornea. Right? And Houston won the game. They had 50-some-odd thousand in the Astrodome. They put the court in the middle, but like no seats around it. It was right, because this is 1968. People didn't think that way. And Houston won the game like 71-69. They had a rematch in the LA Sports Arena in the Final Four. 2 months later.
Yeah.
101-69 UCLA. Thanks for being a part of the tournament. Have a good one. So, yeah. I mean, so those are some of the dynasties you look at.
Absolutely.
In sports. Football's a little more difficult. Because the Packers did win 5 championships in 7 years.
Yeah.
Right? They won in 61, 62, 65, 66, 67.
If a guy loses one playoff game as a coach.
And it was his first one.
Yeah.
His first one. When they played the Eagles in the championship game, and they were 9 yards short of winning that one. 9 yards. Jim Taylor got stopped at the 9-yard line. But they won 5 out of 7. Now, I realize that 2 of them were Super Bowls, so like you have a mentality that only Super Bowls count. Scary group out there. Scary group. Well, they only won 2 Super Bowls. They won. You don't think that they would have beaten the Houston Oilers in 1961, 62? I'll say the one.
They also won 4. That's what I was saying. They won 2. They also won 4 total now. So.
Oh yeah, no, but I'm talking about the first. I'm talking about that 5. That 5 run. Right. I mean, I'll say this: the one AFL team. I know we're going over here. The one AFL team I thought had a real shot at winning against them was the Chargers against the Bears. I thought the Chargers, because of their, I know the Bears had a great defense. They beat the Giants, I think, 14-10 in the NFL title game in '60, right? In that particular year, I thought the Chargers could beat them. Bob Meininger's group, they beat the Patriots, but they had like the high flying, like Lance Allworth. Right? They had Keith Lincoln, Paul Lowe. They had dudes. Ron Nix, Hall of Fame tackle. The Bears couldn't score on the Center Bulldogs. Billy Wade. I don't think so. But not against the Packers. No. I mean, that's a real dynasty as opposed to that faux one you follow.
That's right.
When's the last time you won a Super Bowl?
It's been 1994, 95. You could technically say 94 season. Yeah.
Were you alive?
No. I was alive.
Must be rough for you being around the Eagles fans right now.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. We all can agree on the Chiefs. I think everybody can agree on the Chiefs.
Yeah, it does get to a point where I'm sick and tired of this team winning.
Exactly.
And that happens with everybody.
Yeah,
the Tampa Bay Lightning. I won 2 in a row.
Yeah.
Somebody's got to knock them off. Let's go. Right?
Yep.
And everybody's felt that way about the 49ers since 1995. God, I don't want to see that team win. They win all the time. Meanwhile, they haven't realized they haven't won in 30 years.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
By the way, next time look at the rules. In overtime, you'd send the defense out first.
That's how it is. That's how it works. Oh, but he knew the rules. He knew the rules. No, he didn't. Fred Warner didn't either.
Nobody knew the rules.
No. Nope.
Like,
Nope.
that's not how you play that guy. I remember sitting at home going, what are you doing?
Mm-hmm. So did I.
Okay.
So did I.
Okay. This isn't first team that scores wins.
Nope.
It's like, no. You want to find out what the other dude's done first.
Yep.
Okay. It's a lot of fun. Well, okay. Sure it was. I'm sure you did your best.
That's right. It's the effort that counts.
Oh.